perspective from the education system per se. We have Mr. Sanjay Padode, President and Chancellor, Vijaybhoomi University. He can share his thoughts on how university can make an impact when we talk about leveraging innovation to create that kind of ecosystem where we can have skilled students ready for the industry. Your thoughts on that? Huge round of applause for you, please.
Very good morning to my colleagues in the dais and all the educators who are here. And a warm welcome. Thank you, APAC, for having this fantastic conference. And what a refreshing beginning, So, in the past, since we're talking about the past and the future, I was just going back to some of the conferences I've attended in the past and met with regulators. And what I heard of regulators speak in the past was related with profiteering, related with control, related with a lot of things which are so different from what Mr. Chandrasekhar actually spoke. And it's really refreshing. Imagine an educator saying, I'm a bunny and I make 1 out of 20. Fantastic. I really love it. And everything talking on the cutting edge of technology. I think a lot of what he spoke today, probably a lot of our educators will not even be able to speak themselves. Coming from Maryland, coming and talking about these fantastic examples. It's fantastic. It actually puts me into a new zone. So I come to talk about something about my limited experience in education and what we are experiencing and what we are trying to work on. So we set up India's first liberal professional university, which doesn't mean that liberal is first and professional is first, but the combination together is definitely first. So what we are trying to do in a quick short summary is we are trying to bring the liberal arts framework of education into professional education. What that really means is giving the power of choice of learning in the hands of the student. So typically in a legacy environment of education, right or wrong, I'm not saying, but in the legacy environment of education, the educators define the learning pathway for a student. So if I did electrical engineering, I was supposed to follow a certain series of courses with some limited options in the electives to actually get an electrical engineering stream. And similarly, if I went to business, I did some courses on business. Fortunately, unfortunately, the way the world is now transformed. And I think problems are transdisciplinary in nature, interdisciplinary in nature. So it's very difficult to actually say that this particular problem will come from one stream. So biomedical engineering, mechatronics, financial technologies, health technologies, education technologies, everything has got all jumbled. Now everything has got mixed up with the word tech. But going forward, it will be education and health, and it will be education and business. Like he said, business of education, $1 trillion, $10 trillion talking about business is just fantastic. So looking at all of this, I think we are in an era where everything is about solving a problem. And everything that we do is going to be about innovation and ideation. Every multiplier that we bring to the input has got to come through innovation and ideation. In the past, the whole business was the art of managing science. In the future, it's going to be the science of managing art. Because if you want art, you need people who think beyond the boundaries created by organization. And we definitely have to build the science to control those people who are given the freedom to think and beyond. Now, if I really look at it, where are we coming from in education? So let me go a little bit in the past. So when we evolved in various eras that went by, a lot of work was done through labor. And we made that redundant after the Industrial Revolution when we brought the machines, and a lot of work became sedentary. So as a result, what really happened today is that there's a growing business of gymnasiums, because we're all sitting, we need to exercise, so we need to go to the physical gym. Now come back to the present. When you come to the present, you have generative AI, you have explainable AI, you have responsible AI, you have all kinds of AI that's happening in the world. So just project yourself forward in the future, your mental faculties are going to retire by default. And then there's going to be a big $1 billion opportunity to a business to create mental gyms, because people will stop using the mental faculty. It's already happening. And we will need to actually look at education very responsibly at this stage. There are two things that's happening to the world. One is we are retiring the human faculties physically, and we are soon going to retire the human mental faculties mentally. And then you're going to make humans quite useless and machines very useful. I'll tell you a simple example of mine, so I can relate a personal example of mine. When I graduated from BITS Pilani, I could compute rapidly. I didn't need a calculator. I remembered phone numbers. I remembered directions. But as I lived for the last 30 years, I realized that today I can't remember phone numbers. My mathematical capability has gone down, and so has my ability to remember directions. Now that was me who had the opportunity to actually have my mental faculty working when I was graduating. But look at the Gen Z. They are starting with computers. They don't use the mental faculty at all. So a lot of education has to go back into, cranking up those faculties. So though I'm regressing, but yet that's going to be progress, because we have to keep the innovation and ideation ability of students alive. And we need to do a lot of work in terms of bringing that up, because our legacy education was about putting people into silos, putting people into boxes, and therefore the corporate now says think out of the box. The question to me, to the world, has been who created the box? We created the box because we wanted the box. We wanted mass production. We wanted division of labor. We wanted specialization, and that's why we created the box. Now we need to unbox it. We need people to innovate, ideate, and come up with new ideas, because everything is saturating for us going forward. And I think what the government has done, and a lot of people are not understanding, at least my understanding of national education policy may be limited, but what I see national education policy is a policy very similar to what the government did in 1991 when they liberalized the economy. They have practically liberalized education and democratized this. They have said, look, I'm giving you a framework which is open, which is not regulated. You can innovate, you can ideate and come up with your curriculum, your style of teaching, leverage technology, do whatever. But please ensure that the graduating force is employable. My specific definition of employable is not related to employment, because I also have a view on the employability tests which keep talking about 70% of our people are unemployable, etc., etc. The challenge with these tests is they run in English. Okay, and employability factors related to English. Now, I don't know how a manager who's managing a future retail outlet sitting somewhere in Lucknow needs to know English. He needs to be a banya. He needs to know how to do business. He does not need, because 80% of the people he's going to be communicating are going to be communicating in Hindi. And what about the guy sitting in Tamil Nadu? At the same center, he would be running maybe a 50 crore operation or a 100 crore operation in that retail set, running the entire is English constraint. So we need to also look at these various employability parameters. Let's get to the employability parameters. So we go to World Economic Forum, which is published 2018, the Future Skill Report. Again, a new one has come out in the 2023. A very delta change in that, but there's definitely a change. In 5 years, you have a change in soft skills itself. So 2018, the World Economic Forum World Future Skills Report talked about only soft skills, not a single hard skill there. There were 10 of them listed, not a single hard skill. And now there's a variation even in the soft skill. So we are in a zone where the target is unknown. And we are providing education to people for lifelong. That's what the assumption is. Once I get a degree, it's forever. But that itself, that paradigm itself is now being challenged, because competences are changing, knowledge is very dynamic, velocity of change is very large. So we as educators have to go back and think, what is it that we are doing in education? And one of the key things that we have to deliver in education is the skill to learn, the skill to adapt, the skill to be resilient, the skill to be persuasive, the skill to continuously find challenges for ourselves. And this is very important, because we talk about employability, but we are also building a gig economy. Gig economies are not about getting a paycheck every month. It's about maybe working for 3 months, making a large amount of money, and 9 months holiday. So if you look at all the Uber drivers, they drive at their pace. They don't have work times. They can drive in the night, they can drive in the morning, they can drive any time of the day. And they can choose the time and space when they want to be available to work. And that's what's happening in the gig economy. I was meeting the just retired head of Infosys, HR, who is Krishankar. And he told me even now, 25% of the workforce is in office. 75% is working from home and working from their hometowns. The IT companies are having a challenge to come back. So it's gig economy is not very distant in the future. It's already started to happen and now. So what's going to happen is I, as a skilled professional, may work for 5 companies. Okay, I would be allowing my skill to work for 5 companies sitting in one location. So I, as an individual, have the opportunity to allow myself to be auctioned, my skill to be auctioned and utilized by many people. And then I can decide what time, what space I work. So again, this paradigm is a different paradigm that we educators need to see and prepare our students for. Another question for the panels to discuss. So I don't have answers to this, even we are all trying to figure out what the answers to this are, but I thought it's important that since this is the inaugural session, I put in some questions for all the wise people to apply their mind and fix. Another one question is, just a few days back, we read that 2075, I think it was a World Bank report or something, which said India is going to be the second largest economy at 52 trillion at the GDP level. Fantastic, sounds so great. Then I asked myself a question, let's calculate the top 3 economies today and what is their contribution, GDP contribution today. It's under 50 trillion right now. And we are talking that in 2075, the top 3 economies will be 150 trillion. So 3 times growth on this Mother Earth, which is being already beaten down in terms of sustainability. Imagine the amount of plastic, imagine the amount of fumes that we're going to generate into the atmosphere to get to that level of growth. The amount of trash that we're going to generate to get to that amount of growth. I think we educators need to think of that. Because if we don't, and we don't bring that sense of sustainability now, at that point of time, I don't know if we will ever reach 2075 at that rate. You're already seeing the kind of weather impacts that we are having, and that needs to get into education as well. So I think a lot of this education has to go back to the basic, where we go to enhancing curiosity, we go to enhancing the questioning ability of people and questioning everything that exists. The first parameter I would question today is growth, economic growth, the only parameter to measure success? Or is it beyond? So your Bhutan talking about gross national happiness, maybe that is. Growth of economy, what it has given. So I think we got to question everything, and the source of all our knowledge has been philosophy, which basically got cornered in one point, but yet the PhD, which is the Doctor of Philosophy, continues. The philosophy behind knowledge has to be given more impetus than the skill, the technology and everything, at least at the top echelons of scholarship. We need to question all this to come back to newer models of how we can keep our people employed, happy and sustained. So I think these are some questions I would like to put for all of us to debate and think of. Thank you very much, and thank you for calling me here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjay Padode, President Chancellor, Vijaybhoomi University, for completely sharing with us a different take of what can be done and what should be done to change the education system, and it's connected with so many other things. You talk about a very important part, that is, are we thinking about sustainability? We're talking about sustainability, but if you talk about the adverse effect of climate change, we are talking that digital transformation is a solution, but let's also keep in mind digital transformation is also part of the problem. And to get rid of that, I think some of the countries have started their work 5 years back, 4 years back, that they want that carbon footprint gets minimized, because future is digital transformation, but also how can digital transformation can make an impact into sustainability. I can give an example of Korea. I think South Korea started green data centers, if I'm not wrong, to actually mitigate the risk of this climate impact, because digital transformation is happening, will be happening, but how it can be sustainable. And I'm sure, rightly you have said that we as educators, policymakers, industry leaders all have to sit together and make a roadmap where we can achieve that sustainable digital innovation ecosystem without affecting much the climate action, climate problem. It's a hard to do, no doubt about that. Thank you so much, Mr.
If you just give me a moment, I would just like to add on the sustainability part. So, a lot of sustainability is focused on the hardware that is going into it. We also need to think about sustainability and the impact of what's going to happen with generative AI and things to come, because that's going to be another impact, and that's going to be far more faster than the entire impact here. Okay, that is the sustainability of the human mind by itself.
True.